Trappers, I'm sure they're like reaching out and they wanted you to come. Like this is no joke though. Like there's a lot of
Oh,
guys with pro experience coming to play.
oh yeah, it'll be a great tournament. I went to nationals one year actually with the Yellow Jackets back when I think I was 17, and we were in Prince George, BC. Prince George, yeah, I think Prince George. And yeah, there'll be some good baseball there. There'll be some really good ball. I would have loved to have been a part of it if it wouldn't have taken so much to again, my biggest thing is didn't want to go and be a part of it and not be competitive. And if it wouldn't take so much to get to where I want to be in order to actually go and play in a tournament like that, I certainly would have gone. It would have been a lot of fun, but just couldn't do it this summer.
You mentioned that you before we got on here that you did help with the Berries last year, not this year, but then the Red Sox pull off this kind of dream run, losing most of their rotation, and they go on to win. Just the WCBL in general, and how Saskatoon's really embraced that team, and that group's done an unreal job. Just what do you think about the league where it is? You must be happy to see it as a Saskie baseball guy.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's great to see Regina have the run that they did. It's a weird league right now because it probably runs about 2 weeks too long, and so a lot of teams lose their guys because they all go back to school for kind of that playoff push, which is really unfortunate. The ownership group that's with the Berries, they've done an unbelievable job. They create an awesome atmosphere at the ballpark. They're getting a couple thousand people every night pretty much. So they've done a great job. I think people were really excited. Obviously, they had a great year this year. They got rid of the problem from last year, which was obviously the pitching coach, and so they set a record for the WCBL this year. So no, that was awesome to see. I unfortunately didn't get out to a game with the new baby, but yeah, they do a great job with the atmosphere. It's nice because that Alberta side has always been probably a little bit better from a fan standpoint. But now having the Berries there and hopefully Regina making that run gets people excited about them as well. And
Do you see, like you talked about Mully and then the other guys that have gone through and all that? Do you see now where baseball is, and now there's academies and but it's just baseball, baseball. These kids are like so into it. Do you think that we're going to see it's inevitable to see more kids in the majors from Saskatchewan?
I really hope so. I think certainly the coaching is getting a lot better. And again, with these academies, kids are getting to play a little bit more. Hopefully that pays off. I think it's going to happen. There's going to be a few more. There's actually Garrett Hawkins is from Bigger. He's having a hell of a season right now in high A and double A. So, he might be the next guy. He's starting to knock on the door a little bit, maybe a year or two away. But I think he's the only one from Saskatchewan I know right now that is playing above A ball. But again, you hope that this provides opportunities for kids, right? And it's not an easy road. It's not something you're always going to kind of be behind the eight ball because the competition is never going to be what it is in Arizona or what it is in Florida or warm weather states or the Dominican, right, where they get to play all the time. But, again, better coaching, more practice time. These indoor facilities that are popping up make a huge difference. I think there's no question that the average baseball player is much better now than they were, whatever it was, 15, 20 years ago.
So North Battleford, like, is that where you live? Is that where you grow up? Is that where everything happens for you? Until what age?
Till 18. So that's where I grew up. Went to high school at John Paul II Collegiate. Played all my minor baseball in North Battleford. Obviously got picked up every once in a while by a Saskatoon Regina team, maybe for nationals or westerns or something of that nature. But we weren't even a AAA team. Back when I played, you had A, AA, and AAA, and AAA was the highest level. And we played AA baseball in North Battleford. So I didn't even play at the highest level in Saskatchewan. And when I was 16, 17, 18, we used to call it midget, I guess. Now it's 18U. And so that's where I played all my baseball. And I was really fortunate. My dad coached me all through my high school career. And then I was fortunate to get an opportunity to go down south and play in university.
Were scouts coming out to be like, where should we make our rounds today? You know what? Let's head up to North Battleford.
Well,
or did you have to send videos in? And how did it work back then?
There's a little bit of a combination of a few things there. Certainly no scout's first trip was to North Battleford. Let's put it that way. Did have a couple guys eventually make the trip up there to come watch, but that certainly wasn't stop one. I was fortunate when I was 16, 17, got to play for Team Saskatchewan. The Baseball Canada puts on the Canada Cup every year, which is a big baseball tournament.
Yeah.
Where every province takes their best 16, 17-year-olds. So I got to go play in that for a couple years. And that was kind of where my journey started. Started thinking I might get an opportunity to go down south. There was a coach that goes up there every year, a guy by the name of Gary Henderson. Used to be with Oregon State, and he started kind of recruiting me then. And he ended up taking the pitching coach job at Kentucky and kind of took me with him as recruit. I actually didn't have a lot of offers out of high school. He did actually come up to North Battleford to watch me pitch for the Yellow Jackets, and I think back then it was just the WCBL or WMBL. I can't even remember which. I played in that when I was 18, my last year of high school. So
you were drafted twice. First time Milwaukee, 12th round, 346 overall in 2004, and then you go back into the draft a few years later. How does that process work? Like, you just weren't ready to come out as college was your priority, obviously, so you don't sign, go back into the draft.
Yeah, baseball's a little bit different that way. And, things are starting to change now because you got NIL and you got so many junior colleges and whatnot. I don't know if these rules will change soon or not, but you're draft eligible coming out of high school. And then if you go to a Division I program, once you set foot in a classroom, you're not draft eligible again until after your junior year. So you got to wait at least 3 years if you do that. If you go to a junior college or an NAI school or community college, then you're draft eligible again after your first year. But as soon as you go to a Division I school, you have to stay there for 3 years. So that's where I was at. Getting drafted out of high school shocked me, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting it. I was, in my opinion, a big overdraft. I wasn't ready at all. I had a pretty good. I was pretty comfortable with the scholarship offer I had going to the University of Kentucky, and had told scouts that I would likely go there. I didn't think that they would offer me enough money to make it worth passing that up. So I wasn't even home when it happened. Like, I found out I was actually on a senior trip, I think, in Ranger Lake, Saskatchewan, about 11:30 or midnight when I got home that I'd been drafted that day. A little bit different back then, right? You're not following it online and everything like that. But so just didn't think I was ready. I was I think $167 coming out of high school and hadn't lifted, had never been in a gym, had never lived on my own. I don't think the pro career would have gone very well if I had signed out of high school. Then went to school and went to University of Kentucky and didn't have a good junior year. And so had a much better senior year, and I got drafted after my senior year again, and that's when I signed.
Again, this is Andrew Albers, former Major League pitcher from North Battleford, Saskatchewan, in his interview on the Monday Nooner podcast. Now, this one was a long one, so I cut it up, but it's a really cool story. He talks about how he went to Arizona, drove to Arizona, stayed with his aunt and uncle, and while in Arizona, the Minnesota Twins said they would maybe take a look at him. But they were all the way in Florida, so he didn't know what to do. They couldn't get him flights quick enough. He decides to drive from Arizona to Florida, which is kind of a fateful trip now for him. But this was a really cool part of the interview where Albers talks about that.
And I actually had a friend who was living in Fort Myers at the time, and that's where this Twin Spring training complex is. And they said, hey, if you need a place to crash for a couple of days, you can crash here. Why don't you just drive? And so I looked it up on MapQuest, and 42 hours, and I thought, oh boy. But you know what? It was like, I had the thought of, if I'm going to do this, I got to go all in, right? And didn't want to have to look at myself in the mirror 10 years later and wonder what if. And so I called Tim O'Neill back and I said, hey, how about this? I'll hop in my car tomorrow. Like, they weren't going to be able to get me over there for a few days anyways, get me a flight. And it's like, I'll hop in my car, I'll drive over, I'll throw for whoever you want me to throw for, take your medical, do whatever you need me to do. If you guys like me enough to give me an opportunity, great. You can reimburse me for my travel. If not, don't even worry about it. My dime, I'll go home, whatever. Just trying to get that opportunity, right? He made a couple phone calls, called me back about 15, 20 minutes later. He said, yeah, okay, that'll work. Hopped in my car the next day, and yeah, I think it was, I can't remember. It was 36 or 42. It was a long one.
What kind of car?
I-10 in Southwest Texas is miserable. It's the only place I've ever driven that's worse than driving in Saskatchewan. So it was a long, long drive. Let's put it that way.
What kind of wheels did you have? What were you driving?
Driving a 2004 Buick LeSabre.
Nice.
Outstanding.
It was a comfy ride, let me tell you. Not very good on the gas mileage, but man, was it a boat. And we had some long trips together, me and Lucy the LeSabre.
But that must have been such a, you gain a little bit of a soft spot for some guys in the Minnesota organization, a guy that's willing to do this and go through this grind, and then you get there and obviously you perform, but that shows your character, right? To do something like that.
I've often wondered if I get the opportunity, if I don't offer to drive. You never know. Never gonna know. But I don't. Yeah, I don't know if that opportunity ever comes up if I'm not willing to take that risk.
Again, you can listen to the full interview at the Monday Nooner podcast.